Welcome to It's the Economy. The government has called a special session, 5-day session of Parliament on September 18 to 22, with no indication as to the agenda or the bills that may be brought in. Speculations have ranged from a bill for one nation, one poll, to laws for wider usage of the word Bharat over India, or to a women's reservation bill, and many more, to maybe just celebrating the G20 success and the Chandrayaan success. But do you need 5 days to celebrate a success? Can there be some money bills, some giveaways before the polls? I have with me Sunetra Choudhury, the national political editor at Hindustan Times, Manisha Priyam, the senior academic and political analyst, and Sanjay Kumar, director at the CSDS, Center for the Study of Developing Societies, all of them, experts in this area. Sunetra, I want to come with you. I'm sure you have got a lot of links to parliamentarians and people in high places. Tell us the gossip.
Thank you, Latha, for asking me, tell us the gossip, because, I'm not going to claim right now to know exactly what's happening. And the reason why I say that, I've been speaking to a lot of BJP leaders as well. I've been speaking with a lot of other parliamentarians, some ministers as well, and they all seem to be playing the guessing game. So if we are playing the guessing game, let's look at what's really likely. First of all, we have confirmed from officials that we know in Parliament that what is definitely going to happen is a move to the new Parliament House. Now, that's been confirmed for the second day. They're going to have a Ganesh Chaturthi Puja. It's Ganesh Chaturthi day. So after Ganesh Chaturthi is marked on the 19th, there's going to be a major ceremony for moving everyone to new Parliament. Remember, it's something that has been on the cards. We were expecting, in fact, even budget session, and after that, the monsoon session, there was much speculation about when that move was going to happen. It's finally ready. The sound systems, which were meant to be, there was meant to be some kind of problems with the technical problems. So that's going to happen as well. So the move is going to happen.
But Sunetra, do you need 4 days after that? There may be something.
No, exactly.
4 days in the new building.
Exactly. So after that, of course, why do you have 5 days? And what many people have pointed out is that, yes, fine, you do have, you do have everyone getting up. And, when you have special occasions, for example, the G20, which is being seen as something which is not partisan politics, which is seen to be across party lines. And let's remember that some of the most strident critics of the government, that is Mamata Banerjee and Stalin, they have flown down and been a part of it, even though 3 Congress chief ministers stayed away. So we might have a huge session congratulating the role that India's played in G20. So kind of like, and that's something the government's really proud of. Perhaps that might take a couple of days as well, and you have Chandrayaan. I think what is really a possibility is the fact that you may see something about the new name, because while many have said, like, look, maybe it's a red herring, the fact that the Prime Minister had it as part of his nameplate at G20 indicates it's something that the government's really serious about. They also had it at the ASEAN summit. They also had it at the South African, I beg your pardon, at the BRICS summit as well, where it was Bharat over there. India was called Bharat over there. And many point out that you do not need an official draft of the bill. You don't need it to be taken to cabinet. All you may need, because of the fact that the Constitution and the article of the Constitution already mentions India, that is Bharat, that you need a resolution. Now, that is going to be contentious. That is something that we've seen opposition leaders talk about and decry. That may be something which a resolution is brought in, and that may take up some part of the bill. So, yes, if you're guessing that in these things, congratulating the government on G20 or congratulating India on G20, also on Chandrayaan, and then finally taking up the resolution of having a new name.
Okay. Got that. Thank you very much. Because for the market, since we are speaking to a market audience, their big worry will be, will it disturb any stocks? If it is these 3, what you are saying will actually help the ongoing rally, because there's nothing negative in these kinds of things. But Dr. Sanjay Kumar, what's your best guess? In the past, when have special sessions been called?
Latha, this is the 7th time when a special session will be called. And the sixth time when the special sessions have been called, one was in 1947 to celebrate India's independence. Then in 1962, Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru called the special session for 2 days, which was on the 8th and 9th of November. That was in the midst of China-India war. And then in 1972, a special session was called on August 15 to celebrate India's 25th years of independence. Then in 1992, 50th year of Quit India movement, that was the time when a one-day session was called. And then we had another session in 1997, which was to celebrate 50th year of India's independence. That was also for 1 day on 15th of August. And the latest in the line is in 2017, on the 30th June, when the new tax regime was being brought about, the GST. So these are the 6 instances when a special session has been called. But remember, Latha, the maximum number of days for the special session has been twice. It has been called for 2 days. This is going to be very, very special because we know that it is being called for 5 days now.
Okay. Yeah, that's the point. And that's what has led people in the market and in the economy thinking a bit, because, if it means something like, if you remember, the PM Garib Kalyan Yojana was also announced in, say, January or something, and it was effective from December. It was a large transfer of 6,000 rupees per Kisan family. It happened just before the polls, 2019 polls, and 2018 December this became effective. So, Dr. Priyam, your best guess. Do you think can there be a money bill impact, is my point?
My clear understanding is, given the past precedents, the big stature achievements of India in the international arena, which, unite the House, which unites the people of India in congratulating Mr. Modi for his leadership at the G20 and for the achievements made. It will be, in a sense, conveying these developments, taking the House into confidence. Remember, there's also a talk of something called a P20, a P20, a Parliament 20, the actual handing over, although the gavel has been handed over to President Lula, the final handing over will be towards the end of November. Before that, there's likely to be a meeting of parliamentarians from across the G20 countries. That's also one of the things that I've heard. It means, therefore, that Mr. Modi's readying up for Parliament is in his own way, taking the Parliament into confidence, apprising the Parliament of the great developments that have been made under his leadership in the arena of international affairs, getting 20 plus heads of state across a conference table in New Delhi is no mean feat and no mean achievement. A joint declaration that most believed would be split asunder on account of the war in Ukraine. Now, for that, we've had a line that is different from Bali, but that has still allowed enough room for the West and others invested in the war to believe that India is on the side of peace and not war. And Russia still believes that the global South has asserted itself. So I think clever diplomacy there, and the House will be apprised of these. As far as a big ticket money bill for public expenditure is concerned, I don't think this is the session. This is definitely a very ceremonial session, but I won't be surprised. In fact, the order of the day is such that before this government announces elections, I do believe that there will be some general purpose, general welfare spending targeted towards the poorest of the poor, what form it takes, and how it distinguishes itself from the plethora of schemes that are being announced by state governments on the left, right, and center, whether it's the BJP's Shivraj Singh Chauhan or it's the Ashok Gehlot government. I think the center will have to distinguish its own expenditure proposals, but they will come definitely and certainly before we go in for the elections. This
but that's
session,
not
however,
on.
Is
Yeah,
not
that's
the
not
one
for
where
this
these
session, you think?
Items will be taken up.
Okay, you don't think a giveaway or a public transfer of money kind of program is getting announced just yet? Dr. Kumar, an early election was also on the cards, but for that you only need to advise the president, right? You don't need a session for it.
No, certainly, Latha, if you want to hold an early election, you don't need to call a session of the parliament. So certainly this is not the session of the parliament to announce early election, I'm sure many celebratory things would be introduced in this session of the parliament. But I also suspect some of the issues, some of the bills, which may not be passed, or I don't know whether it will be passed or not, but something which is already there on the trigger. I think some of those bills may be introduced in the parliament, but certainly in my opinion, certainly not one nation, one election.
Okay,
certainly
what is in your mind?
Not preponing elections.
Okay, no, what's in your mind in terms of the special bill? Bills which may be introduced but not yet.
Maybe say something to discuss one nation, one election. What is the possibility of country moving in the direction of one nation, one election? Something to some bill may be introduced to figure out what is the way to move in the direction of controlling population. Something for uniform civil code. So some of these maybe there's also a discussion about women's reservation bill. Maybe that is a bill which will be introduced. Maybe that is being passed. So I think these are some of the bills which are going to be discussed or passed in the special session of the parliament.
Sunetra may be best placed to advise us on what the buzz is. Sunetra, celebration I can understand for a day. I can understand the destroyer of obstacles. So Ganesh Chaturthi is a great day to start the new parliament, start in the new parliament building. All that taken, but there is still 4 days. So, women's reservation bill can give the BJP an advantage. The India unit may not be that prepared. Do you think it is only this, bills to capture the narrative? Is that the likelihood?
Well, yes. Out of all the other bills that Dr. Sanjay Kumar mentioned, the one that seems perhaps most likely, because again, that takes on a much larger thing of being something which is something which is not just a BJP agenda, the women's reservation one. And let's not forget the added advantage of bringing in the women's reservation bill is that it divides the India alliance. It's something that RJD, SP are heavily opposed to. So there is nothing that would delight the NDA faction and the government much more than something which divides the opposing side. So yes, that looks very likely. Now, the reason why I don't think that UCC or even the one nation, one election as legislations that are possible in these 5 days is because one, in the UCC one, the government's very clear. And they have said so to us in various kind of ways in conversations that HT reporters and all of us have had, is that this is something, yes, it is a BJP agenda. It's one of the core agenda. Yes, it's one of those things that only remains out of the 3 core agendas that BJP has. But this is something they want to really have a lot of discussions on, and they want to indicate, and the whole kind of image and the perception that they want to have is this is something that they've gotten after speaking to everyone, so various stakeholders. So this is not something they're going to do in a hurry. Even the one nation, one election, we have a panel now.
Yeah.
And that panel hasn't even met for the first time. So how are you expecting that panel's recommendations? President Kovind's panel, which has Amit Shah in it, which has people like N.K. Singh and others in it, that panel hasn't even met yet. So how are we expecting that? And that panel has been formed by the government. So we can't expect their recommendations to be in within a week and that to be discussed and passed by parliament. So it's not going to be one nation, one poll. It's not likely going to be UCC. Women's reservation bill perhaps seems, politically speaking, the most relevant and most likely if we are talking about that. But even then, let's just wait and see how it goes. As you said, so we're guessing.
The market. The market has to take positions before it actually happens. And that's why they're very eager to hear people like you. I think the best takeaway for them is that it's not early election because that doesn't require a special session. And it's unlikely to be giveaway programs because that can always be done in the winter session. So likely it's just capturing the narrative. But let's see. You relieve the markets a goodish bit, all 3 of you, by telling us what is not likely to happen. Sunetra, Dr. Priyam and Dr. Kumar, thank you very much indeed for enlightening us. After a brief break, it's back to Chartbusters and let's see if the Nifty makes it to 20,000.